Alright everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be installing the rest of the built-ins. This is the window seat. You guys saw me in the last video install those cabinets off to the side. You can see that I removed that rightmost door on the other side of the built-ins, and the reason is because now as I install this first piece, I have to flush up the face frames and make sure that I connect those together before I start screwing it into the wall. So you can see I'm checking level and plumb. I clamp it together and then I screw the two carcasses together. Then I can put that door back later on. Next part of the process here, you can see I'm using wood shims. That helps with the leveling and plumbing process. Here I'm dropping in the second unit, and you can see it's just a perfectly snug fit. I dropped that right in, and I cut the baseboard out previously so that could fit right in there. And then I'm going to do the same process here by screwing the face frames together to make the seat one unit. Then I'm going to screw that part into the wall, checking level and plumb as I go. And you can see here the quickest way that I know to get rid of the shims, to trim them off, is just to use a multi-tool. And I'm having my son, who always helps me with these jobs, he's just following me with the vacuum so that we can clean up. Okay, so now to fit the top portion of the seat, the solid piece in there, I'm going to make a template. And the way I'm going to do it so that it's perfect is I'm going to take these scrap blocks that I cut, put it up against the wall, do the same thing on the opposite end, and then I'm going to attach the two of them. I'm going to put two screws in each piece so that it doesn't swivel on me as I take it off. And then what I'll do is I'll lay it on the long piece of the seat. I'll draw out my lines and then I'll cut using the track saw right to those lines, and that should fit right in there between the walls. This way, if there's any variation, if it's not perfectly square, if it cants out to the side a little bit, I'm going to capture that angle as I make the marks. And now I just lay the template out on the window seat top, and I'm going to use my pencil to just trace those edges. And then you can see as I make the cuts with the track saw that those lines, they may be slightly off, not perfectly square, and that's due to the walls bellying out or bowing in a little bit. Now I have a quick clamp set up on the back. All I have to do is position it on the line and then use that squeeze clamp to lock it in place. Okay, so I got the board now positioned in place. It was cut, so I'm going to lift from the middle. That'll give me a little flex and help me slide it in, because the back portion here is a little bit tight because the wall comes inwards. So just to get it, let me see, a little bit of give. Lifting it in the middle bends the board enough for me to pass that high spot. Push it back and drop it in. And now I have a nice tight fit, real tight seam all the way across. So the next thing I need to do is take my measurements from the front and make sure that as I put it in, it's completely even. Okay, so now that I have the piece situated where I want it, I just took the folding rule, butted it up against the face frame. Everything's 25 millimeters. A little bit more. 25, 25. Okay, now from the bottom, where I have the spanners, I can screw in that top and permanently attach it. Alright, now I'm just screwing the top down from the inside through those spanners, and I'm using 1 1/4 inch cabinet screws. Now the cabinet screws, they have kind of a washer head on them, so it gives you a really good bite and a good hold. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I have to install these vents. So I put a piece of paint to strip on the center and found my center of my openings so that I know exactly where these vents are going to sit. This is for the heat to dissipate through the bottom. But I need to cut out for the portion of the back for it to fit in there. So as I centered the opening and centered the vent, I need to find out how much I need to cut out. So I'm going to drop down that center. I found out this is 25 millimeters from the top. So what I'm going to do is just bring the line down just roughly somewhere there. I'm going to do that on all the boxes. That gives me a starting point. And then This is a distance of 250 millimeters that I need to cut out in width. So half of that's 125. So after I make my marks there, now I'm 25 millimeters down from the top. So I have this set. First I'm going to set my side distance to 125 millimeters. So for 250, 125 is half. So I'm going to set my folding rule at 125 in the center. I'm going to make my mark at the edge here. And then 250 over here. And so then what I'll do is take my pocket rule at 25 millimeters down. That's where I need to cut out. Here I'm drilling some holes in the corners so I can get the reciprocating saw blade in there to make the cutouts, and then I'll finish it off with a multi-tool. And once that cutout is popped out of the way, I can just install the vent. After I cut a couple of the vent holes out, I figured I'm going to install the doors on that cabinet, knock that out, and get them out of my way. Then I'll just rinse and repeat to the next side of the cabinet. Okay guys, now it's on to the wainscoting portion here. We're going to dress up the wall. So I'm using some 1/4 inch or 6mm birch ply, and you can see I put the PL Premium on there as the adhesive. Put it up in place. I cut it a couple of millimeters short so it fits, and that's going to be covered up with the stiles and rails, and I'm going to tack it in with some crown staples. Now I'm installing the stiles and rails. I've measured, marked, and cut all the pieces at one time. And if you're looking for me to stand in front of the miter saw and make all these cuts, I got to tell you, I had the miter saw out in the backyard. This built-in is up on the second floor, and it was 103 degrees that day. So I left the camera inside, and I just cut all my pieces and filmed the install. As much as I wanted to film every aspect, I had to get this job done. This is where my son saved me a ton of time. He was caulking all the seams and filling all the nail holes while I was nailing off the rest of the trim. Next, I'm installing the simple trim, and I'm just mitering it around the corner, and that's hiding the seam between the lower and the upper cabinet. And now I'm pin nailing in some small trim at the base of the unit, and what this does is two things. It's dressing up the bottom of the unit, but it's also hiding the gap that it was created by the dips in the floor. Next, the small filler panel to take up the gap against the wall and pop the baseboard back into place. Here I'm using a pull saw to make a notch in the crown molding, just so that I could fit it right over the wainscoting and it'll go straight back to the wall. And here you can see just how that notch works. Okay, so I'm going to start wrapping up this job here with the hardware that they chose, and I'm going to be using this cabinet pull drilling guide. This jig is pretty awesome. I'm going to link it in the description, so if you guys have to install any kind of knobs or any cabinet pulls, this jig is really on point, so check the description box for that Amazon link. Okay guys, so you can see the knobs in, everything is completely finished. We got the shaker panels in, I pieced those together. You saw it was just easier to do piece by piece that way. All storage on the bottom, store for closed hinges. Knobs are installed, crown is installed, and that's it. Came out really nice. I'll give you a close-up. All right guys, so here is a better shot where I can zoom in, walk across the whole piece for you. You can see how that filler panel and those bottom filler panels really took up the gap. Also, that little bit of a gap that was in the back where normally I would scribe to the wall, being that I was doing the shaker panel style fillers in between, I didn't need to worry about that. The crown is notched above that, straight across, everything is completely level. And this was the side you already saw me install, but in this episode here, you got to see the full thing come together. Let me just step back, give you a panorama of the whole thing. And this run is just over 14 feet, and this whole build was done in metric for the first time, and I gotta say it was a lot more precise. Okay, everybody, so that's a wrap for this job. I hope you guys enjoyed the series on the built-ins, and I'm going to group it into the playlist with the cabinet building series to make it easier for you to find. If you want to reference it later on in the future, you could always go to that playlist, and you have the cabinet building, and you also have the installation of the full set of the built-ins, window seat, and all. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned some new tips and tricks. I really had a lot of fun. That job is done. I have a ton of other jobs to do, and I'm going to be filming all of them along the way, and I'm going to also do whole series in between building those of things on tape measures, things on certain tools, and other videos with tips and tricks and all kinds of installation techniques and building techniques and things that you guys really want to see. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that, okay? So don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for joining me in the shop and out in the field once again for all of this, and I will see you guys next time. Check the links in the description. Those are going to be links for the tools that I used in this, especially the cabinet pull drilling jig. That thing is really awesome, and if you're installing any kind of pulls, knobs, or anything like that on your drawers and your cabinet doors, that thing is really helpful. So I'm going to link all that stuff down below. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Hit the picture of that little notification bell. That's going to notify you every time I upload a new video, which is very frequently these days. All right, guys, we got a lot to do, so I'm going to get moving on this. I got to clean up the shop. All right, I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me again.